Welcome to this video about the true story behind the movie, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. This horror film, released in 2005, tells the story of a young woman named Emily Rose, who becomes possessed by demonic forces and undergoes an exorcism that ultimately leads to her tragic death. But did you know that the movie is actually based on a real-life case of exorcism that took place in Germany in 1976? The story of Anneliese Michel, a young German woman who underwent a series of exorcisms before dying at the age of 23, inspired the movie's plot. In this video, we will delve into the true story behind The Exorcism of Emily Rose and explore the real events that inspired this terrifying tale. We will examine the facts of the case, the cultural and religious context of the time, and the controversy surrounding the exorcism itself. So sit back and prepare to discover the chilling reality behind one of Hollywood's most haunting films. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for future updates before watching this video. Let's get started. Number 1. Anneliese's staunchly Catholic mother. Anneliese Michel was born in Germany in 1952 and was raised in a devoutly Catholic family. Her parents, Joseph and Anna Michel, were both devout Catholics, and her mother was particularly fervent in her religious beliefs. Anneliese's mother had a deep devotion to the Virgin Mary and believed that suffering was a way to atone for sins. Growing up, Anneliese attended Catholic school and was an active participant in church activities. She was described as a kind and loving child who was deeply devoted to her faith. However, she began to experience health problems in her teenage years, including epilepsy and depression, which made it difficult for her to live a normal life. Despite her struggles, Anneliese remained committed to her faith and saw her suffering as a way to draw closer to God. Her mother also encouraged her to embrace her suffering and offered prayers and sacrifices to help alleviate her daughter's pain. When Anneliese's condition worsened and she began experiencing hallucinations and hearing voices, her mother and family became convinced that she was possessed by demons. They sought the help of two Catholic priests, Father Arnold Renz and Father Ernst Alt, who performed a series of exorcisms on Anneliese over a period of 10 months. Anneliese's mother and family believed that the exorcisms were necessary to save her soul, and believed that her suffering was a sign of her possession. However, the exorcisms only made her condition worse, and she eventually died from dehydration and malnutrition. The story of Anneliese Michel's possession and exorcisms has been the subject of much debate and controversy. Some have argued that her condition was purely psychological, and that the exorcisms were a form of abuse. Others have claimed that her possession was real, and that the exorcisms were necessary to save her soul. Regardless of one's beliefs, Anneliese's story is a tragic reminder of the dangers of mixing faith and mental health treatment. Her death sparked a debate about the role of religion in modern medicine, and led to changes in the way exorcisms are conducted by the Catholic Church. Anneliese Michel's case has been described as one of the most documented cases of demonic possession in modern times. Her exorcism was conducted in secret, and the details only became public after her death. The transcripts of the exorcisms and recordings of Anneliese's voice during the possession have been used in court cases, and have been the subject of numerous studies and debates. Anneliese's case also highlights the conflict between science and religion in the treatment of mental illness. While some saw her possession as a spiritual affliction that required exorcism, others argued that her condition was a result of mental illness that required medical treatment. Her death prompted a re-evaluation of the way in which mental health and religion intersect, and led to changes in the way exorcisms are conducted by the Catholic Church. The story of Anneliese Michel has also inspired many books, movies, and documentaries, including The Exorcism of Emily Rose, which was loosely based on her case. Her case has become a cultural phenomenon, with many people still debating whether or not she was truly possessed by demons or if her condition was a result of mental illness. Regardless of one's beliefs, the tragic story of Anneliese Michel serves as a cautionary tale of the dangers of mixing faith and mental health treatment. Her death has led to changes in the way exorcisms are conducted, and has prompted discussions about the ethical and moral implications of religious practices in modern medicine. Number 2. Anneliese believed she was cursed. Anneliese Michel's descent into demonic possession began in her teenage years, when she started experiencing seizures and hearing voices. She was diagnosed with temporal lobe epilepsy and depression, and her condition worsened over time, leading her to believe that she was cursed. Anneliese began to believe that she was possessed by demons, and that she was cursed by God. She started experiencing hallucinations and seeing terrifying visions of demonic creatures, which convinced her that she was under the influence of evil forces. She also became obsessed with religious themes, and started seeing the faces of saints and other religious figures in her visions. Anneliese's mother, who was a devout Catholic, believed that her daughter's condition was a sign of possession and sought the help of the Catholic Church. Anneliese was seen by several priests, but none of them believed that she was possessed. However, her mother persisted and eventually found two priests, Father Arnold Renz and Father Ernst Alt, who believed that Anneliese was possessed and agreed to perform exorcisms on her. During the exorcisms, Anneliese's condition deteriorated rapidly, and she became increasingly weak and emaciated. She would often scream and convulse during the rituals, and would often beg the priests to stop. However, her mother and the priests believed that the exorcisms were necessary to save her soul, and they continued the rituals even as her health worsened. Anneliese died on July 1, 1976, at the age of 23, from dehydration and malnutrition. Her death sparked a controversy and led to the priests and her mother being charged with negligent homicide. The trial was a sensation and attracted widespread media attention, with many people debating whether or not Anneliese was truly possessed, or if her condition was the result of mental illness. Regardless of one's beliefs, Anneliese's story is a tragic reminder of the dangers of mixing faith and mental health treatment. Her belief that she was cursed and possessed by demons led to her death, and her case has prompted discussions about the role of religion in modern medicine and mental health treatment. Number 3. The Secret Exorcism. In the movie, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, the exorcism that was performed on Emily was conducted in secret by a Catholic priest named Father Richard Moore. Emily had been seeing Father Moore for several months, and had been experiencing demonic possession, which had caused her to become increasingly isolated and paranoid. Father Moore had performed several exorcisms on Emily, but none of them had been successful in driving out the demons. He then decided to conduct a secret exorcism, which he believed would be more effective in driving out the demons. The exorcism was conducted in a remote location, away from prying eyes, and was attended only by Father Moore and a few other individuals. During the exorcism, Emily's condition worsened, and she became increasingly agitated and violent. She would often scream and thrash around, and would sometimes even speak in languages that she had never learned. Despite the intensity of the exorcism, Father Moore persisted, and continued to pray and perform the ritual. However, Emily's health continued to deteriorate, and she eventually died from what appeared to be a combination of malnutrition and dehydration. Father Moore was later charged with negligent homicide, and was the subject of a high-profile trial. The trial explored the role of religion in mental health treatment, and led to a re-evaluation of the way in which exorcisms are conducted by the Catholic Church. While the secret exorcism depicted in the movie is fictional, it does raise important questions about the ethical and moral implications of exorcisms, and the role of religion in mental health treatment. The tragic death of Emily Rose serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of mixing faith and medical treatment, and highlights the importance of seeking appropriate medical care for mental health conditions. It's important to note that the secret exorcism depicted in the movie is a work of fiction, and is not based on any specific real-life event. However, it does reflect some of the broader issues and concerns that have arisen around exorcisms and the Catholic Church's stance on mental health. One of the main themes that the movie explores is the conflict between faith and medicine. Emily's parents were devout Catholics, and they were initially hesitant to seek medical treatment for their daughter's mental health issues. They believed that Emily's condition was the result of demonic possession, and that an exorcism was the only way to cure her. However, as Emily's condition continued to worsen, they eventually sought out the help of a doctor, who diagnosed her with epilepsy, and prescribed medication to manage her seizures. This led to a rift between Emily's family and the church, with some members of the church viewing the use of medication as a sign of weakness or a lack of faith. The movie also explores the ethical and moral implications of exorcisms. In the film, Father Moore is portrayed as a sympathetic character, who genuinely believes that he is doing what is best for Emily. Number 4. 6 demons were possessed by Anneliese. In the true story behind the movie, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, the real-life person on whom the movie was based was named Anneliese Michel. Anneliese was a young woman from Germany who was diagnosed with epilepsy and began experiencing religious hallucinations in her late teens. Anneliese's family was deeply religious, and they believed that her hallucinations were the result of demonic possession. They began consulting with several priests, who performed a series of exorcisms on Anneliese over the course of several months. During the exorcisms, it was reported that Anneliese exhibited a number of bizarre and disturbing behaviors. She would speak in strange languages, refuse to eat or drink, and become violent and self-destructive. According to those who witnessed the exorcisms, Anneliese appeared to be possessed by as many as 6 demons, each with its own distinct personality and voice. Despite the intensity and frequency of the exorcisms, Anneliese's condition continued to worsen. She became increasingly frail and weak, and eventually died in 1976 at the age of 23. Her death was attributed to malnutrition and dehydration, which were believed to be the result of her refusal to eat or drink during the exorcisms. The story of Anneliese Michel has since become a highly controversial and divisive topic. Some see her as a victim of religious fanaticism and a failure of the medical system, while others view her as a deeply spiritual person who was possessed by demonic forces, regardless of one's beliefs about the supernatural. However, Anneliese's tragic story serves as a reminder of the importance of seeking appropriate medical care for mental health conditions, and the dangers of allowing religious beliefs to override medical judgment. Number 5. The stigmata argument. Stigmata is a phenomenon in which a person experiences the physical wounds of Christ on their body. These wounds include the marks of the nails on the hands and feet, as well as the wounds from the crown of thorns on the head, and the wound from the spear in the side. The Catholic Church has recognized stigmata as a genuine spiritual phenomenon, and there have been many documented cases of individuals who have exhibited stigmata throughout history. One of the most well-known cases of stigmata is that of Saint Francis of Assisi, who reportedly experienced the wounds of Christ on his body while praying in a secluded chapel. Other famous cases include Saint Padre Pio, who exhibited stigmata for over 50 years, and Saint Rita of Cascia, who experienced a partial stigmata on her forehead. While the Church recognizes stigmata as a genuine phenomenon, it also acknowledges that not all cases of stigmata are genuine. There have been cases of individuals who have faked stigmata in order to gain attention or to promote a particular agenda. To be recognized by the Church as a genuine case of stigmata, a number of criteria must be met. These criteria include the presence of the physical wounds, the absence of any medical explanation for the wounds, and the presence of other signs of supernatural activity, such as visions or ecstasies. Despite the Church's recognition of stigmata, the phenomenon remains controversial and divisive. Skeptics argue that stigmata is nothing more than a psychological or physiological condition, while believers see it as a genuine manifestation of the divine. Ultimately, the case for stigmata is one that is deeply rooted in faith and spirituality. While scientific explanations for the phenomenon may exist, many believers see stigmata as a powerful symbol of Christ's suffering and sacrifice, and as a reminder of the transformative power of faith. And that concludes our exploration of the true story behind The Exorcism of Emily Rose. We hope this video has shed light on the real events that inspired this eerie tale, and deepened your understanding of the cultural and religious context in which they occurred. The case of Anneliese Michel continues to be a source of fascination and debate among scholars, theologians, and horror fans alike. Whatever your beliefs or opinions may be, one thing is certain: the story of Emily Rose and her tragic fate will continue to captivate and terrify audiences for years to come.
Ja, ich will auch für die anderen leiden, damit die nicht in die Hölle kommen und so. Aber dass das dann so schlimm ist und so grausam und so furchtbar, nee. Das tut mir leid, das ist so leicht zu sagen, aber wenn es dann wirklich schlimm wird, da will man überhaupt nicht mehr, da will mein Kind schlafen.
Ihr Klötze. Nein, ihr Klötze. Und mal mir Klötze. Oh, so gerne will nicht. Ich gerne nicht.
Sind wir schon 3?
Wie. Was ist so der Schmeiß?